Very glad to see you. My name is Alex Orlov, and we are launching a marathon, the task of the team lead and the head. They are the speakers of the Tetics project, Tetics School of Managers. We're working for quite a long time with them. They all profess, and we collect good feedbacks usually, and I hope you will have some insights, conclusions after the session, because we strongly believe that starting the education is not only about the knowledge and skills, it is all about the changes that can be applicable to real life. And I hope something will be changed after the marathon in your life, and I will be very happy with that. You have to think about yourself, you have to apply the situation to your reality, you have to make some conclusions, and we prepare some programs for you. And I'm starting this marathon with the path to the team lead and the task of the team. So we will talk about the career, and we will talk about the tasks. So what lays ahead for the team leader? How is it all? Does it all happen when we face it, when we work with our students? We had over 20,000 students, and the story looks like you work for a company, you are IT programmer, tester, analyst, and probably one day you will be the head of the office because you are a good person, a good human being, you know how to handle other people. Or the second story, you hope to be the leader. And I had such story with I understood that the hope is not very stable actually. To hope one day that the employee comes to you, you can discuss it, but the strategy is not stable, it doesn't depend on you. And today we'll try to change this hope. I don't know exactly where you're located, what do you do, are you the boss, or you would like to be a boss and to pursue the career, but hope that we make it clear to you today where are you now, what do you want, and it doesn't mean that it will be a pleasure for you. Probably you will find out that you won't be the first candidate to have a promotion in your career, or there is no chance at all to continue your career at this particular company, or you have learned about other problems. And yes, the clarity is not a pleasure always, but it's quite precise, and you can make some plans for future and to understand better the things. The scope, the goal is to be a good team lead. And within this report, we will discuss several tools with you. The first module, the top module, is what is necessary for the promotions. What are the factors? We'll talk about the metrics of trust and transparency. This is kind of the sum of the decisions of other people's, and it is important what other people think about you. We'll talk about the tactics and stratoplan tests. There are 8 categories, and there are 3 questions. They're quite clear. A very good tool for self-esteem. And the table of quality. This is a tool from coaching, which, according to our experience, is very useful to make the things more clear and to understand where you now and what you can do. We have 58 minutes more, and thus we have to be able to distribute our time. Once again about me, my name is Alex Orlov. I'm from St. Petersburg. I started my career as IT programmer. In the year 2002, I started working for the company as a tester for some assistance for Java. It was at the beginning of the year of 2000. If you had several questions about the mobile phones for Java, they were all the tasks of my team. Then Intel would our cooperation, and I started working as a manager for Intel as the team leader. We were writing several IT programs, Java programs, and we did several inner IT services. At the same time, I started having and conducting several webinars and trainings for employees, for colleagues, and thus I understand that I'm pretty much interested in such a career as a coach. I organized my personal training, and I understood that I liked it. And since the year of 2008, I'm a professional business coach. I have corporational trainings, and this week I finished a cooperative project with one of our clients from Moscow, from Saratov, Voronezh, Penza. They are all the cities of Russia. And since 2010, together with my colleague Slava Pankratov, we founded Stratiplan School. 2020 was the year of the launching our project Tetics School, International School. And I do enjoy working with other talented people, and our experience is a constructive one. We have over 22,000 graduates and students, and people come to us, they send to us their employees, colleagues, and we are very happy to share our experience and to tracking the careers of our graduates, what are the results and what can they learn from our webinars and marathons. So the first instrument, the first tool is the top model. It means that for the promotion, three components are required. You have to have the skills according to the position, not at the highest level, but at the adequate ones. For example, as I became a team leader, the team leader before me, he became as the boss, the employer, director of the company. I'm sure I was not the best technical process. We had Dima, a kind of genius person, and he could actually edit everything, every byte. He had enough structure. He understood it perfectly. Another guy was Oleg, and it was me, and I became the team lead. Why so? What do you think? Because Dima and Oleg, they did not have very constructive relations. They argued quite a lot, and I was a kind of a compromise person, the person who knows how to handle with other people, how to deal with other people, and that means that the skills must be at an adequate level for the particular position. The second component, the second part is the passion. And we can see sometimes that we hope to do something, we hope to get something, but there is not such components. What I mean is, what do you want to find in this particular position, and what are the expectations? And the next part, they are the chances of the positions that you would like to obtain. Would you like to be a CTO or simply a team lead? Is it probable? Is the company growing? And they're natural. Of course, things yesterday it was all right, but today the company requires 3 new managers. You have to demonstrate your skills at the best level, at the adequate level, and you should be visible and you should want it. So, two other questions. What are you expecting to get? Or what do you not have enough? For example, as an engineer, I would like to become a manager. What do they think about that? When we put such questions, the answer is quite funny. They do nothing. They write letters. They appoint meetings. They get a lot of money. So they're all the tasks and competences of a manager. So as you can see, they're quite easy, but they earn much more money. And it is not always visible, the task of the managers. If you would like to be a technical director, you have to understand properly the tasks. For example, dealing with the custom services for the director. And you have to try it on to understand whether it's suitable for you or not. What would you like to obtain? What are the skills that you have right for the position? So you have to play several games with this matrix, with this circles, and to clear such things up. The second tool, I would like to name them all, then we'll try to sum it up. I will try to create a plan for action. The interests and competences. So we will put transparency of the scale and trust people to each other. The matrix was proposed by Sergei Berezhnoy, a colleague of mine. We got to know each other in Kharkov. He worked for Global Logic company, and I think it was 10 years ago, and he managed to change different companies. Now he working and living on Cyprus. He represents some companies, and he was in the head of a project which describes how the client works with the project, and he proposed these metrics of trust and transparency. What is it all about? For example, you have a renovation works in your house, in your apartment, and you have to attract some workers, and the question is, on what level is your trust? So let me put it in this square. So as you can see, the trust is not on the highest level. There are some reasons, of course, why you preferred working with this client, but it's not pretty clear to you. What do they do? How many people do they have? So the transparency problem is still not clear, and the question is how to reach the highest level. That means the more pleasant things, the more fruitful collaboration, money, bonuses, the speed of the decision making, where you can have, I know you, so let's work together. No, please explain to me what do you think, how you are going to work. This is all about the trust. And is it possible or not? Can we do that or not? Yes, we can. And people do several actions. They can drink together, for example, go for a drink, or visit different places. This is all to increase the level of trust. Then they go to the left upper square, and it's quite dangerous square because if you have a problem, that means that we lose the trust. If they change a person from the client, it means that we'll lose trust. So the common recommendation is to try to increase the level of transparency, to understand better the resources and the money are being distributed, the perspectives for career, the reputation, the fame, and try to increase the level of transparency. Later on, if we can see the results, the level of the trust is in growth. They care about the interests of yours, about the results, thus the trust goes up, and you can see that we can probably avoid several other reports. And because I have trust, I don't need that. But once, of course, the trust may go down because some people might repeat the cycle. Everything is clear. Let's try to avoid unnecessary papers. The company works together for a couple of months, and then there are changes, and they're not positive. They can see new reports, necessary reports, there is trust. Again, they try to avoid the reports and papers, but then they have some changes within the company, they change people, and once they do not understand what is going on actually, and the matrix can explain it in a very simple way, I would like to invite you to make a very simple exercise. You need to have a piece of paper. I will give you some time. You can draw a matrix 2 per 2. Where are you now in terms of relations with your clients, with your contractors? In what square? It's not in the center, of course. It's impossible to fit you there. Please put a point, but try to be honest. Where are you now? And the second question is, why do you think you are in this particular square? What kind of observation do you have or conclusions? And if you're in the zone of the low transparency, this is the risk, and it's quite tricky to start building your career and to going up. It's pretty early. So why is this matrix a good one? You can draw several ideas, and I remember, as far as I understand, that I'm here right now, in this particular position. A particular point of time we can point here. Let me give you one example. It was a training about constructive confrontation, and the client was the founder of the company. They had this training done by Andy Grode, and he ordered such trainings for his team in St. Petersburg. We had 3 sessions. And what do you think? What were the complaints of the guys from St. Petersburg? They thought this is all pretty good, but this is not relevant to our director. He should learn it as well. But it's quite interesting. The guys are now much more constructive, but the thing is that the director is not constructive. And this is the problem of trust and transparency. And I would like to draw this matrix, the matrix of trust and transparency, and their founder, contractor, he also was there. So the guys decided to put the point here, low level of trust and transparency, and they asked their boss, Dave, and he put the point here, slightly upper. The trust is here, but the transparency is not enough. The home task for them is to learn it, because their boss, Dave, he locates in the United States of America, and they live in St. Petersburg. That means they cannot see each other daily, and they cannot see what's going on actually daily. And they have some stereotypes and different mentality. That is why that transparency is important. And this is the reason for the future discussion with the head of the office. In our projects, educational projects, I can see the colleague of mine, Slava Pankratov, he is not satisfied with something. I propose him to see each other more often. If we can see each other once in a week, probably we do not understand each other very well. Probably we have lack of competencies, so we have to meet each other more often. Let us proceed the second tool.
Okay, let's move on to the third tool, the manager's maturity test. And here I would like to offer a link for you to explore. I'm going to send it to you to the chat so that you can use it. Right, so please take a look at the test. You will see 8 core areas there. Team audit, hiring and firing, communication within the team, constructive confrontation, setting up and monitoring tasks, daily operations, such as emails and so on, team state control and feedback, So keeping track of the team's status and their attitude to work, their motivation, and so on. Then assessment, certification, and material compensation, and working with your client and the top management. So in our opinion, these 8 areas are the most important. But I'm showing you 5 fingers for some reason, never mind. Anyway, so 8 areas are of the highest importance to team leads and managers of any level. Please bear in mind that all the questions deal with your behavior, whether you do it or you don't do it, and they're the general. It is a way for you to assess yourself as a manager. There's a question about maturity as well, and about transparency. Going back to the previous tool, how can you boost transparency if the customer isn't interested in it? Of course, transparency is a broad notion, and you and the client may have different understandings of the concept of transparency. So what is transparent work to you and what is transparent work to your customer? These two could be different. And it's important to clarify this point with your client because it's important to match their expectations and not yours. You can ask your client how to make our work more transparent to you. Don't have any expectations in advance. Don't suggest tools, don't suggest reporting or calls. Because you writing reports doesn't mean that anyone would read them. You could submit an endless number of reports to your client, but they won't necessarily read your reports. They could just postpone them or store them eternally. For me, for example, calls are the best transparency tool. I give them a call and I listen to what my contractor or client has to say, and I understand whether they have heard what I have to say, and we clarify everything on the spot. I want my clients to understand what's happening on my end, because I don't only use it to build trust, but also to make certain adjustments to what we're doing in our work. Dear colleagues, I suggest that you complete this test right now and enter the number of points in the chat. In our experience, the average point among our subscribers and readers is 26 out of 48. So it looks like some of the areas are lagging behind, and we tend to forget about them as we go. This is to be expected. And I will broach this topic again in my last presentation today. It's about the importance of making pauses, of slowing down, of keeping our pace moderate. Despite the business needs, despite all those agile projects and iterations every 2 weeks, we keep running all the time. And if you enjoy technical work, if you enjoy engineering tasks, you're very strongly focused on these technology-intensive tasks. So we tend to focus on technology-intensive tasks. I'll give you an example. We sometimes use it in our training sessions. It is called an all-purpose bike. There are teams. Each team has a customer. Our teams are in a room right here. Say 3 teams. And we have 3 customers. Customers step aside into the hall. There are managers in every team. And the objective of each team is to draw a draft of an all-purpose bike that would match the requirements of their customers remotely. Of course, nobody can draw a bike properly, which is always a reason to laugh, but participants of teams can go on business trips to meet their customer. They can exchange messages, but they can't draw anything. And they need to complete the task in 10 minutes. We step aside with the customers into the hall. and I forbid that the customers request the status of the project unless the manager shares it with their client. And then they have 10 minutes to work, and these projects are sometimes funny, sometimes really great, but customers are requested to fill out a certain progress form in their understanding how fast is the team progressing. Because managers don't always, very few managers actually speak about project progress with their customers. How many managers do you think share the progress project with their customer out of their own initiative? I can see that some of the participants have gained 24 points. Okay, so in your, to your mind, how many? 10, 20, 25? No, that's wrong. Actually, 0% of managers share their project progress with their customer. At their own initiative, that is. It is quite understandable, because the situation is, of course, artificial. They only have 10 minutes. They need to convey all demands with their teams. But in fact, this is very lifelike, because we rarely have enough time to not be in a hurry. But everybody is very enthusiastic about drawing that bike. And of course, this is what happens in real life. I am absolutely convinced that microprocesses that we face during training replicate themselves in the real world. When you're focused on a technology-intensive task, you sometimes forget to bring your customer into the loop. And if you forget about it during training, you're bound to forget about it in real life. And this situation will replicate itself again and again. So, dear colleagues, you can enter your questions or comments in the Q&A session. And now let's get back to our manager's test. How many points have you earned? I have answers like 16, 24, 38. Wow, 38 is great, Sergey. I think you're doing things right. 22. Of course, it's not all about the number. It's not about getting a good grade. It's about having a reality check and understanding what you forget about and what you can do to remind yourself about some of the important things. Say you probably forget to set up one-on-one meetings with your team. And I believe it's one of the crucial tools when working with people, because this is a good way to convey your feedback and to understand their state so that they don't abandon your projects out of the blue. However, what matters is not the final result. What matters is what it means. When you say that you do something, you also need to understand how often you do it and whether you are dedicating enough effort to it. You need to be able to think on how to improve some of the things you already do. It is a self-assessment tool, so the number you arrive at is quite immaterial. Okay, I can see another answer, 25. Artyom, I think you were right to attend our webinar, because this is probably very beneficial to you as a manager. And now you have a choice of doing something, of changing something, or not doing anything. Okay, 21, 30, 23, 22. So we're all not very far removed from the average. I haven't seen a single answer that would feature 48, and I don't think such managers ever exist. For me, this test is a good reason to reconsider some of the things I do and reconsider some of the things I tend to forget. It is, of course, about top managers and about their talents, and something a good team lead and a good team manager does. It is, of course, it regards the same ORG-OPP thing that we talked about. And probably, if you're interested in becoming a better manager, you could read some of the books that would help you. And the last tool I would like to cover today is the table of features or qualities. I'm going to suggest an exercise for you. Please prepare a piece of paper and write down 8 qualities of a good manager or team lead. Of course, we have this manager's maturity test, but let's try to use our own words. We have 24 things a good team lead does, but now I'd like you to choose 8 qualities that you believe are the most important. They could be personality traits like constructive attitude, friendliness, clarity, conciseness, ability to maintain a healthy distance, ability to say no, ability to justify their opinion, ability to select the right team members. So what do you think to be crucial for a team lead? Please enter these features and qualities into the table or write them down on your piece of paper. You can also enter them in the Q&A session for us to see. So 8 crucial qualities of a team lead or manager in your opinion. Oh, we have a message from someone's kid in the Q&A, and I think it's a great opportunity to watch something like that with your kids. I'm a father of 3, so I'm very understanding of this. All right, so let's move on to the qualities of a good team lead or manager. I have plenty of answers: understanding the situations, choosing the right people, thinking quickly, finding a way out of a situation, building an efficient team. These are all rather general things. So the ability to communicate, I believe that's a rather broad skill that also includes a lot of sub-skills, like the ability to listen, the ability to protect your boundaries, and constructive attitude, and countering manipulations if somebody does it with you, and dealing with toxic team members. So it's a very complex and comprehensive skill. The ability to choose the right people again. Thank you, dear colleagues. I'm not going to read everything that you've sent here because primarily that's for you to consider. Oh, here we have empathy, which is also important. Thinking out of the box, educating a team. All right, let's put a stop here. How do you think you can use it in the table of features? So let's draw this table and enter your qualities there. These are the qualities that you already have, or the qualities that you need for a position, for your target position. Let's say responsibility, proactivity, constructiveness, architecture, projecting, business orientation, planning, English skills, and presentations. So features and skills that I need the most. We all have our own understanding of what each of the qualities means. So, what is 1 and what is 10? We're going to assess ourselves against the numbers from 1 to 10. So, responsibility, what's 1 for responsibility? What is 10 for responsibility? 1 is when I'm responsible for my own plot of land, and 10 when I'm responsible for our entire vegetable garden, so to say, and I help out everyone working in it. So you need to understand as specifically as possible what these figures correspond with, and then you need to enter your own points on a scale from 1 to 10. Say you get an 8. What does it mean to you? Why not 10? What is 10? What is 1 is probably not very interesting, but what is 10 is probably very interesting. So, control skills. 1, no control skills. And 10, as much control as you can.
So 6, for example, what does it mean? Sometimes I forget to control something, or I'm on the stage, all the tasks and goal setting. Then we are doing another activities, so that means it is 6. What is my evaluation on this scale? For example, it looks in this way. My responsibility is 9, proactivity is 4, for some reasons. Probably I'm much more reactive than proactive, so on and so forth. So what does it mean? And the next step is what have to be done to have +2 according to these features. Dear colleagues, I hope it is understandable for you. We can put down the position or the place we would like to be, then to do the assessment of us currently, and then what have to be done to have +2 to these values. The next useful step is to make comparison with your boss, for example, or with your mentor, if you have them. So someone else who is tracking your activity and your work. Are there any qualities and features? And how should they be estimated? They have their own level of transparency, and it is very important that they can observe you, your activity, and your work, because they also are involved in the process of decision making, and they do their own estimations, and then we talk about the assessments, and we are tracking the differences. For example, my planning is 6, and his assessment is 3. That means that I see it better. But he sees that I do not respect the deadlines. That is why he put me 3. Thus, we need to be transparent. We have to find an agreement to improve the situation in the future and try to raise the assessment. This is all about that. How can we applicate that to the real life? We have some facilitators which work with the groups and they make some compliments about other colleagues that they would like to try to avoid of them. But I'd like to remind that it was our own decision, our mutual decision to hire this employee, and now the things go wrong way. Is it so bad? And the matter is in this scale, do you have the same evaluations, these 2 different features? Thus, we organize the structure, this table, 8 points, the scale. We discussed it together, and we came to understanding that it didn't look so badly. And the matter is that we are all based on our personal opinion and understanding, and we look things differently. We do different assessments. The next step is to talk directly to this employee, to this colleague, and to see the results of her assessments. And this is a very useful task to understand better your future career. Dear colleagues, so you have to fill the table in, and you have, as I can see it in the chat box, the values are all pretty different. And the question to you is now, what can you do to improve that, to raise the features? The next step is probably to talk to your boss and to use this tool. So, to sum it up, the first webinar, the first report, if we have a goal to become a good team leader, to be simply a team leader and only after to be a good team leader, the plan is to organize meetings to your boss face to face. I don't know how long time ago you have seen each other. If it was 6 years ago, it's quite tricky, I think. It's not the best situation. Right now, when I have my report, my presentation, I'm asking you a question because it's very important to me to understand that you're involved, that you are concentrated on the presentation, you have their own ideas, and you're not distracted on social medias. news, newspapers, whatever. And it's all applicable to the work because the feedback is crucial. Because the boss hopes that once, if something goes wrong, you can come directly and to discuss it. And to ask, what do you think about my own work, about me personally? We had different students, and only once our student would negative feedback from his boss, and this is actually a very good one because thus he knows yet what should be improved and what can be improved in the future. Thus, this information is very important, and this is a very good feedback for him and for his boss as well. But I would like to remind you, this was the only case. So there is a kind of a food for your thought. And I would like to recommend you to try to apply the matrix of trust and transparency. How do you think? Thus you can listen to your colleagues, listen to the things that they do not have enough. This is all that matters for the future discussions. If you can see that the trust is low, that means that people are not satisfied with your work. Probably it's pretty early to discuss the perspectives for future career, because today, during my second presentation, I will talk about the development and self-improvement. With a low level of trust, it will be very difficult to try to improve certain skills. You have to be able to listen to the critics. What can you hear from your boss? What are the factors? Probably this is the lack of responsibility. Okay, responsibility, what do you mean? Could you please specify that? When I met the problem, you initiated some negative stuff. So what do you mean in particular? Probably I don't know that at all. And this is his opinion. So please try to be specific and to listen to the opinion of other people. This is the only way to try to enhance this transparency. And probably it will go up very slowly. I don't know that, but you have to go step by step. If you have the high level of trust, but transparency is level, again, you have to be able to discuss it directly, because if you have a fuck up or a problem, that means that the trust will go down. And at this particular moment, it is crucial to be able to deal with it. Then you can set the goals. For example, I would like to be a senior architect or a team leader or CEO. And what do you think? What I have to do to reach this position? Probably your boss will tell you what have to be done. Do you remember the top model? You have to apply and to turn back to this model. Or you have to address to the Tetics test and to discuss it with your boss as well. You have to track it together, where to draw the table of the qualities of the features. What is important and what is not, what is relevant to you and what is not. How do you assess other people? And you have to organize the future structure, the plan for action. And to finish the first presentation, I would like to remind you, in a week, next Friday, we are beginning with the new program that we have, Tetics Black, in a very detailed way. We will discuss and deal with all the stories which are important for the employees and the employers. We'll have group discussions, role models, coaches. I will be the main facilitator, the main speaker for the team group. We will work 3 days in a row, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I hope you will see the changes later. If it's useful for you and it's relevant to you, and our other speakers will deal with that, we have some places for you. So we'll be very happy and we're welcome to see you within our students. And to finish my presentation, I would like to ask you a question. What are you taking with you after the first presentation? We had 15 minutes together. I told you some jokes. I illustrated you several tools. And what have you learned? And I hope after each presentation you can put some notes with the main ideas of the presentation and what actually have you learned from this preparation, and try to use it in your real life. So dear colleagues, the question is, what are you taking with you right now? I try to have a look in our chat box. It's quite complicated, the structure. I can see the tools. Maxim is excited. Thank you very much. The plan for action. Try to use the matrix of features during the interviews, job interviews. This is all very interesting ideas, guys. Thank you very much. And during the interview, it is very good to try to pretend to be a whole person. Like, who is the ideal boss? The person who knows how to respect other people, how to respect employees. Thus, you need to track whether there is a coincidence with your ideas. Thank you for your nice words, the transparency, the features of the leader, the table of features. Thank you very much. They're all very useful tools. It's very important to learn something. And when you try to apply that to your work and to realize it once again and to reflect on that, to have a critical mind, that's very useful. I have learned new things. Thank you, thank you. Setting goals, task planning, feedbacks, the ability to make decisions. Or that, oh, probably other features. Okay, dear friends. Probably we are finishing right now here. We have 7 minutes before the next report. This is the high time to grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. If you do not have any questions, you're welcome to think over the presentation. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me. And the next speaker is Anton Savachko from Kiev, how to find the time for education, for family, for yourself when you're working from home. Because, yes, you have some family members, they can distract you. And the question is how to find the time for everything. Okay, I still reading the comments, the feedbacks. Olga, thank you very much for such warm words. Thank you for the plan for future actions. Home task. I like really much about the trust. This is all great, reading your feedbacks. What have to be done if there is no trust in the company, high level of trust? Probably that means that you do not have transparency. You have to try to deal with the relationship and to understand the position of your leaders. Thus, so try to explain, like when you try to explain to your grandma something, it's polymorphic. So it's quite impossible task. It's very difficult one. So you have to train the skills. Communication with people in different languages. Probably technically the director doesn't get something, but you have to train your skills, your communication skills, and try to raise the awareness. This is a very interesting matter about your growth, your personal growth. So it's quite tricky. I mean, the Zoom toolboard probably during the pause, when we have a break, we'll try to fix it. So, dear friends, thank you very much. If you have further questions, you can send me in the mail, or you can add me as a friend on the Facebook. I'm very open, and I'm always ready to help you and to answer your question. 5 minutes later, we have the next speaker. We are talking about coaching, about the stress for the bosses.